P3 Theater Company, in association with the Del Shores Foundation and Beard Collins Shores Productions, presents the world premiere of The Red Suitcase.
Hi, I'm Jon Peterson, Executive Artistic Director and founder of P3 Theater Company. And if you want to find out more about our world premiere production of The Red Suitcase by Jiggs Burgess, watch this interview. The theater experience is a unique experience as opposed to film, television, in that, well, it's live. You are sitting there in a room with the actors who are tapping into their talents, performing for you live. And there are the energies in the room from both sides. You've got the actor's energy, you've got the audience's energy, and each performance you see is a unique performance. So say, for example, you've got a performance on a stage. You've got these actors who are saying their lines and it's live, and you've got the audience there that's reacting to them. That's going to be a very unique experience on both sides. For example, the actors are going to have gone through whatever they went through in that day. That will, no matter how slightly, it will affect their performance in one way or another. They're going to have different energy levels, different moods that they're in. And the same goes for the audience members. They will have gone through whatever their day held for them. A lot of that in Los Angeles is driving to a theater and finding parking. But then they go in this room where you've got these actors on stage, and the combination of these energies is unlike no other. As compared to if you're in a movie theater or sitting on your couch watching television, you're going to get a performance and a product that has been refined over and over, and there are technological elements that are able to enhance that and create a product that you are going to see, and no matter how many times you see that, it is going to be exactly the same, which is a great thing. But I don't think it's as great as being able to be in a room with live actors and getting the product that's there for you specifically that moment in time. So I have personally been a huge fan of Del Shores since sometime around 2000, 2001, when he had this little movie come out called Sordid Lives. And by little, I mean it is anything but little. It takes place in Texas, which we all know everything's bigger in Texas. But I've been a big fan of Del Shores over the years, and followed his TV series of Sordid Lives, and there's a sequel to the movie, and just followed him as a playwright, as a screenwriter, as a director. And at the beginning of COVID, fast forward a few years, I stumbled across an organization that he had founded called the Del Shores Foundation. And that organization was created to help amplify the voices of Southern LGBTQ plus playwrights and writers. And in researching this foundation, I found that they partnered with local nonprofit theater companies around the country. So I sent an email of inquiry, and I had been acquainted with Del through the years, through some messaging back and forth. We were supposed to produce his play, Sordid Lives, in 2020, which got shut down. Then we attempted to do a virtual version of it during COVID, which didn't happen for various reasons. But we had been in talks, so he knew who I was, not as much as I knew who he was. But so through that communication, we developed a partnership, P3 Theater Company, with the Del Shores Foundation, and we became a partner organization where we were able to help spread the word of his foundation and what they stood for. And being a partner with their company, they helped promote us. Then what they did was they created this writers competition, basically where they were searching for playwrights, screenwriters, and the like to submit new works for adjudication, where they would then be able to offer a monetary award to the winners, and then subsequently a grant to the first theater company to produce those works that were selected. Well, through all of this, and much to my surprise, I received an email from the Del Shores Foundation. I don't remember if it was from Del Shores directly, or it may have been from Emerson Collins. His program, I believe his director is a program director or program manager for the foundation, asking me if I would be interested in being a judge or a part of the jury to select the winner of the playwriting competition. So I, of course, accepted. I mean, what a huge honor that was. And I was just tickled pink. Uh, so I was one of three jurors who was given six different plays to read and select our choice for the best play. And then, wow, what a treat that was. There are some really talented writers out there. But I will say, hands down, the play that caught my attention, that literally grabbed my heartstrings, was called The Red Suitcase by Jiggs Burgess. The next step in that process was to have a meeting with Del Shores, Emerson Collins, and the other two adjudicators to discuss our selection for the winner. And one of them was on the board of directors of the Celebration Theater in Los Angeles, which is just down the road from where we are producing The Red Suitcase. And then the other one, I don't remember what theater, but she was from a theater company. She was a producer from a theater company. I believe it was on the East Coast. So we got into this Zoom meeting, and the gentleman from Celebration Theater and I were both hands down. Red Suitcase is the number one winner. And we asked the lady judge why Red Suitcase was not her choice, and we determined it was because she was picturing shows that could be produced in her theater space. So we said, take a step back and reread the play, and read it for the words, read it for the story. And she did that and came back to us, and hands down, it was a unanimous decision that the Red Suitcase was the winner, and therefore, it was selected, and Jiggs Burgess and the Red Suitcase won the very first playwriting writers competition for the Del Shores Foundation. Well, the effect that that play had on me upon reading it, and these are just words on a piece of paper, so I'm literally creating this story, the visual aspect of this story in my own brain. I said, I've got to produce this play. This has to be done on a P3 theater stage. And we then went through a process where I got to meet Jiggs Burgess via Zoom, because we were still kind of in the height of COVID a little bit towards the end of it. But and he interviewed me as a representative, and the producer and founder, executive director of P3 Theater Company, and talked about his vision of his play, and we talked about what we had to bring to the table as a theater company and a production team to put it on a stage. And we were very fortunate to have been selected by Jiggs Burgess to produce the world premiere of The Red Suitcase. So last summer, as I was going about my business and perusing the internet and looking up, what do I need to know to exist in the world of theater here, came across information that the Del Shores Foundation was going to hold I believe it was their very first Writers Festival in Dallas, Texas. And in this festival, what they were going to be doing was staged readings, or really more like concert style readings, where you sit with music stands and the scripts in front of you, and reading the play of The Red Suitcase among the winners in other categories. And well, I think at that point, if I remember my timeline correctly, we had been selected to produce it, but it was not announced. So I thought, well, I've got to get myself to Dallas, Texas, and attend this Writers Festival. Number one, to support the Del Shores Foundation, but number two, to see the words that I've only read on paper, to see them acted out by actors, even if in just a sitting in a row style setting, to hear other people speak these words. And so I made my plans. I went out to Dallas, Texas, took a couple friends, and we attended a few segments of this really neat Writers Festival. They had different panelists, different interview sections, and of course the readings of these different works of art. And the highlight of the weekend for me was getting to hear the words of The Red Suitcase spoken by some really terrific actors. I cried when I read the script. I cried when I saw this first reading. It is that powerful of a piece of theater. And the really cool part of that was at the end of the reading, Del Shores and Emerson Collins called me down onto the stage, where we got to make the announcement that P3 Theater was going to, in fact, be producing theater company to turn this into a world premiere event. So very, very excited. I mentioned that there was some extraordinary talent in that cast. Excuse me. And in the reading, the lead character of the play, his name is Pogue, and Emerson Collins, whose name I've mentioned, he played the role of Pogue. Uh, it was sheer perfection. I think when I went down to the stage and they called me down there to make the announcement, I gave him a hug and I said to him, because I had never seen him as an actor, I only knew him as a producer and a program manager. I said, "You are so beep talented." So he was the head of that cast, along with Kristen McCullough, who played the role of April. We had Bruce Molina, who was Bud, and Charlotte White as Grandmother Evans. Those are the four lead characters in the actual play, and they were tremendous. And P3 Theater has been lucky enough that Emerson Collins is Los Angeles based, so we cast him without question. Kristen McCullough, who played April, last year moved to Pasadena. I think it's Pasadena. So she's a local. And then we were lucky enough to get Charlotte White and Bruce Molina to come out from Dallas to reprise their roles and to be the actors in the world premiere production. So excited for that. And to having been a part of that whole weekend of festivals and that evening of that play being read for the very first time on a stage. Jiggs Burgess as a playwright is something you don't come across very often. Uh, I, as a reader of books and plays through my whole life, I've always put myself into a story, into one of the characters in the story. Usually it's a narrative character. Um, and his plays are written such that you can very easily find yourself in the story. They're real, they're honest. Uh, they are comedy mixed with tragedy in many cases. But really, it's the reality. And no matter what the topic is in his scripts, of which I've read several to this point, we've actually produced another play that he wrote called Wounded for the Hollywood Fringe Festival. Um, but no matter what the topic is or what's happening in the story, anybody can relate to it. Maybe not directly to what's happening, but there's something that's happened, I guarantee it, in your life or in their life that they relate to the emotions, to the physical actions that are happening. So relatable, so real, so tangible. Uh, and it's powerful, beautifully written. I mean, as an actor, being able to say the words, I've read opposite people who have auditioned for it, so I've been able to actually speak the words myself. It's just natural. Uh, there's no contrived twisting of words where it's kind of out of the scope of the story. It's just everything drives the story in his scripts. There's no superfluous, I think might be the right word, verbiage happening. It's just it's real and it comes from the heart. The Red Suitcase is a story that takes us on a journey of a young boy by the name of Pogue, who has a less than traditional childbirth and nurse and doctor who birth him. I'm not going to give any spoiler alerts, but it's there. I have mentioned about Jiggs Burgess' work that there is comedy woven between the tragedy to offer moments of levity to his work. It was a very non-traditional childbirth, and it takes us on the journey of Pogue, who lives in a very non-traditional, non-mainstream middle America family. Takes us on the journey from his childhood up into his adulthood, and takes us on the journey where we believe that we are the sins of our ancestors to we are the hope of our ancestors. Uh, the Red Suitcase really explores the relationship between a father and a son, between a grandmother and her grandchild, between siblings, and between community. A lot of things, whether we relate to them directly or indirectly, this whole story is just filled with symbolism and happenings in life that are so relatable and so real to, I would say, really any of us. So I've mentioned that the Red Suitcase explores this relationship between this boy up through manhood, between him and his father, him and his mother, grandmother, siblings, community, but it's a very small cast. The core principal characters are the mother, father, grandmother, and the son Pogue. But the other characters in the play range from the nurse and doctor when Pogue was born, to elementary school teacher, to first love, to brothers, to policemen, to even a dog for that matter. And all of those characters, which really offers a unique approach to a play, all of those characters are played by three actors. It's done in a style. There are certain narrative elements of the play which I really like. You've got the actual action happening and the actual dialogue, but then you will have actors and characters step out of those moments to narrate what's happening or about to happen. So these three ensemble actors really have a job cut out for them, in that they are not only wearing these multiple character hats throughout the story, but they're also driving the story with their narrative, as does Pogue. Pogue is actually another one of the main character, the only main character that steps out of being Pogue to narrate, and he's actually really telling his story. So it's just such a unique approach, and one that couldn't be done without extraordinary talent, which is what we have in our cast. Really amazing to go through the rehearsal process of this and watch the growth of these actors into these different characters that literally change at the drop of a hat. I would love for the audience members that come to see the Red Suitcase to have a couple of hours that whisk them out of their worlds into somebody else's world, to live the story that's being told, and to ultimately be entertained. Uh, but also to realize and to be able to connect to parts of Pogue's journey, and honestly realize that they're not alone in this world with things that have happened in their lives. These are all relatable topics that happen throughout this story. So there's definitely an entertainment value, but there's a level of comfortability that I want the audiences to feel and to walk out. It's a powerful piece. It's not a tap dance and show tune singing musical. It's a piece that really touches the heart and the soul. And for people to be able to be a part of that and be entertained by that is definitely what I hope for our audiences. I think our audiences will be most surprised by the way in which they are drawn into the story. And it's not just by the words that were written, but it's by the performances of the actors. For example, I mentioned there are three actors that are playing multiple roles throughout. You are introduced to each individual character, and this is because of the direction and the talent of these actors. You are introduced to each of these individual different characters as if it's the first time you've seen that character slash actor. So, for example, the three actors are Matt Hayes, Tiago Santos, and Pam Trotter that play multiple roles in the production. Every time you see Pam Trotter come onto stage, or Matt Hayes or Tiago as one of these different characters, you're not seeing Pam Trotter, Matt, or Tiago. You are seeing this character. And it's as if you've seen that person for the first time. It's really such a surprising and amazing thing that's been done. So while you have these three tremendous actors that portray multiple characters throughout, I've mentioned that there are four main characters in our production that are played by Emerson Collins, Kristen McCullough, Bruce Molina, and Charlotte White as a family unit, as it were. And they play those same characters throughout. And they're not just playing those characters over a period of a summer or a couple of years. There's quite a time span. I want to say the time span in this show is close to 30 years, maybe. So you've got the character of Pogue, who starts as a young boy, and by the end of the play, he's in adulthood. And the believability in aging that these actors are able to bring to the stage, without having the luxury of AI or film where you can stop cut and wigs, makeup, come in here and make this person look 30 years older. A lot of that is done in their acting ability, and again in the direction and how it's portrayed. uh Seamless, and it seems effortless as a spectator of this story, to watch this growth, this progression in time, and the relationships as they change and shift over the years. The relationship between Pogue and his father, between Pogue and his grandmother. It's just truly, it's a delight. One of my favorite things about Del Shores, other than plays that he's written, is his ability as a director to be an actor's director, to be able to relate to the actors and how to get the best out of them. Um, Being able to watch his process with the assistant direction of Blake McIver Ewing, which that's a whole nother piece of art there, is watching his assistant director step in to help sometimes translate what Dell is trying to get across, or bring his vision in to enhance. It's amazing, and Dell's ability to bring out a character, to bring a character out of an actor, is it's another work of art. To sit in the room as someone who has been an actor most of my adult life, to watch this process, it's amazing, and to see the transformation of these actors who are already very talented and experienced, but to see Dell be able to bring them to a new level, to bring them to try things that they've maybe never tried before, is quite amazing. And it is an extreme honor to have this show helmed by both Del Shores as our director and Blake McIver Ewing as our assistant director, who's also creating a lot of additional staging to really liven and enhance the story. Audiences must come to P3 Theater Company's world premiere production of The Red Suitcase, because it promises to be a live theatrical event like no other. Get off that couch, turn off your Netflix, your Hulu, your streaming apps that are stealing money from our SAG-AFTRA actors, and get to the live theater. Support live theater. The live theater needs you, our audiences. And this production in particular is such a story that is told like no other. You will be moved by this story. You will be entertained. You will be whisked away to a world that you never could have imagined. And the stunning beauty that will be put on the stage by our design team, our lighting, projections, sound, costume and props, wigs, it's going to transform you into this world of Pogue's journey through life. And it's one you're going to definitely want to be a part of. As always, but even more so than always in this time of a post-COVID world where live theaters are struggling to get back on their feet. Many of them closed down. Many of them are still out there trying to bring art to you, to the community. Ticket revenue is such a small part of what helps to cover the operational costs and production costs of theaters. So your donation to P3 Theater Company, any theater company out there, is very welcomed, and our gratitude goes out to those who are able to do so. And not just theater companies specifically, but organizations such as the Del Shores Foundation that are out there to support and bring the arts into the community and support local theater companies such as ourselves. Donations to our organizations at this time are welcome more than ever. Hi, I am Jon Peterson, Executive Artistic Director and founder of P3 Theater Company. If you want more information about our theater company or on how to get tickets to our upcoming world premiere of The Red Suitcase by Jiggs Burgess, then visit our website at www.p3theater.biz. That's P3THEATRE.biz. See you at the theater.